Owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood, EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Busby roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 3-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy deep tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and a breathtaking experience of our beautiful Seaview and Lakeview. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Honey, did you remind him that
it's another Friday in the Gambia, September 13, 2019. As we are gathered here today, it is humbling, given the trajectory of the entire procedure of this, the circumstances leading to today's event, to have the Honorable Minister of Justice, the Honorable Tambelu, the Honorable Minister of Information and Communication Infrastructure, the Honorable Ibrahim Silla, the Honorable Secretary General Mohammed B. S. Jallo, and our ladies and men of justice, and the entire press corps gathered here today to unveil the much-awaited Janneh Commission report, a report that interrogates the alleged activities, extra financial activities of former President Janneh, his cronies, his enablers, parastatals, and whatever. Without much ado, I will just yield back to the Secretary General, who will give a brief statement on behalf of the President, and thereafter the Honorable Tambelu would proceed with the report and the white paper. And then from there, we would have questions from members of the press and answers from members of the high table, as it were. And then, however, I'll be remiss, really, if I proceed or yield over without making a very sobering comment. It is quite shocking, to say the least, that the document, the report that we are about to unveil has actually been significantly leaked to the press corps, the online press corps. And last night, I had a sleepless night as I saw allegations and counter-allegations from different parties, insinuations as to who may have actually leaked this precious document that everybody was waiting for. Until these leaks were leaked, the only thing I know about it was what I put on Radio Gambia, that the forfeited landed properties would amount to close to $1 billion. The sale from the cattle and other domestic articles was $100 million. I never saw the report. I never saw the white paper. Until I speak to you, I have not seen the white paper. I have not seen the report. Until as I'm speaking, I haven't. So it is quite unfortunate that we have men and women among us in the civil service who are now bent on actually leaking every document before the document is due for public view. It's just unfortunate. And what comes with this is that people who have nothing, absolutely zero, to do with these leakings are maligned, insulted, all kind of garbage, being thrown at them, But then this is a very serious matter. I'm sure the Attorney General has his ways of dealing with it, and when he comes to the table, he'll talk about that. Mr. Jallo, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandere, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Honorable Minister of Communication, Information and Communication Infrastructure, members of the press, other members of the ministries present here. Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be present here in the launching of this report. But first of all, let me just, make a short comment on the statement made by Mr. Sankara in terms of the leak from the civil service. I don't think this government, I think everybody agrees that this government is very open as far as information is concerned. There is no interest to muzzle the press. Okay, that has very clear. But I think at the same time, we have to understand that there are certain things we may have, some security risk as far as the state is concerned. That is why in all developed democracies, every piece of information has different level of security. Certain things can be available to the public immediately, other things have to be available, after certain considerations are made. As regards this report, I think it was the prerogative of the President to set up this commission, and we thank the Minister of Justice and the commissioners for doing a diligent work. It is also His Excellency the President who decided, based on the powers given to him by the Constitution, to share this report publicly, because it is in the public interest that this report is shared. So that, nobody is saying that we are hiding anything. Okay, both the report and the white paper will be shared to the general public. Like Mr. Sankara said, it's unfortunate that maybe some people have leaked it, but it is no secret that I think it was the last cabinet, it was discussed, and the public was informed that cabinet was discussing this report. So on that note, I'd like to thank once again the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice and all the commissioners, who spent weeks and months and a lot of investigative work to come up with this comprehensive report. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'll go straight to the details. You will recall that upon the installation of the borough administration in 2017, preliminary reports received from, among other institutions, the Central Bank of the Gambia, the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation, the Gambia Ports Authority, GAMTEL, NAREC, AMRC, GNPC, and other public institutions and government agencies, indicated that substantial funds were either directly or indirectly withdrawn, paid out, or expended on instructions or directives received from the office of the President during the tenure in office of former President Janneh, sometimes for unknown purposes. It was discovered that bank accounts were opened into which funds paid by members of the public and intended for the state were directly controlled and expended by former President Janneh or on his instructions. It was also discovered that former President Janneh during his tenure in office had accumulated at least 131 known landed properties registered in his name or in companies and foundations in which he had shares or an interest, and that he operated at least 89 private bank accounts directly or through the aforesaid companies or foundations. Based on these preliminary reports, His Excellency Adama Barrow deemed it in the public interest to launch an inquiry into the financial and other activities of public bodies, enterprises, and offices as regards their dealings with former President Janneh, his family members and close associates, his financial and business affairs, and the assets accumulated by them during his tenure in office. Accordingly, in exercise of the powers conferred on him by Section 200 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia 1997 and the Commissions of Inquiry Act, Cap 30, Volume 5 of the Laws of the Gambia, His Excellency Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, on 12 July 2017, issued a Commission of Inquiry into the financial and other related activities of certain public bodies, enterprises, and offices as regards their dealings with former President Janneh and the accumulation of assets by him, his family members, and close associates, and for connected matters through Gazette Legal Notice number 15 of 2017, issue number 0796, with the following membership: Mr. Suahata B.S. Janneh as chairperson, Ms. Abiose George as member, and Mr. Baima Sen as member. The commission was assisted by Counsel Ami Bensouda, who was appointed by me. The members of the commission were thereafter sworn in, and the terms of reference of the commission included to inquire into and investigate the circumstances surrounding the withdrawal of diverse sums of money from the Central Bank of the Gambia, including from the International Gateway account, the Carnegie Mining Project account, and any other account or fund lodged with the Central Bank, to inquire into and investigate the involvement of the executive arm of government under former President Janneh in the withdrawal and application of funds or resources of public bodies, enterprises, and offices or projects, including but not limited to Social Security, GPA, GAMTEL, NAREC, AMRC, and GNPC. To inquire into whether and to what extent the resources meant for the government or people of the Gambia, including grants, donations, and loans, were diverted, converted, or misappropriated by or under the direction of the former executive. To investigate the extent to which former President Janneh was involved in public procurement and whether any losses were caused to government by reason of such involvement. To investigate the existence, nature, extent, and method of acquisition of assets and properties of former President Janneh, his family members, and close associates within the period from 22nd July 1994 to 21st January 2017, and to investigate whether such assets and properties were acquired lawfully or otherwise. To investigate the companies, businesses, and bank accounts operated directly or indirectly by former President Janneh and his close associates, or in which he had an interest, or in companies in which he had an interest. The Commission was also mandated to identify whether any person or group of persons committed any offense in relation to any matter inquired into by the Commission, and to recommend ways of improving on the supervision of government accounts in a bid to ensuring that irregular withdrawals from the said accounts do not reoccur, and to recommend ways of recovering or restoring any assets, monies, or other resources that may have been illegally taken, misappropriated, misapplied, or lost. The Commission submitted its report in 9 volumes, totaling 1,600 pages, to the President on 29th March 2019. Following a review of the Commission's report and in accordance with Section 203 of the 1997 Constitution, His Excellency President Barrow has decided to publish his reaction to the report in the form of a white paper to be published here today, together with the full report of the Commission. Because of its voluminous size, I'm afraid we can only share a few complimentary copies of the report with you here today and encourage the general public and the rest of you to obtain copies from the GPPC in Carnifing. It will be, of course, for sale. But first, the government wishes to highlight the commendable work of the Commission in general and the procedure that they adopted in their investigations and public hearings. The transparent manner in which the Commission conducted its proceedings and the extraordinary measures it had adopted in order to ensure fairness and adherence to law and due process is highly commendable. The Commission, therefore, has made a number of findings and recommendations in its report. The government has carefully considered the report and in its white paper has stated its decisions and accepts, except as otherwise stated in the white paper, the findings and recommendations as they relate to the issues brought out in the report. In taking the decisions reflected in the white paper, the government has not lost sight of the prevailing governance environment created by former President Janneh at the time. Notwithstanding, in most cases, members of the business community in their dealings with former President Janneh were motivated by greed and opportunism, while those who served in public office were mostly motivated by a combination of fear and self-preservation. The government has also taken into account the fact that the Gambia is currently going through a fragile political transition to democratic rule after over 2 decades of dictatorship. Consequently, the government's main objective, as reflected in the white paper, is the recovery of money stolen and or misappropriated from the state by former President Janneh, his family members, and close associates. For the avoidance of doubt, the white paper does not, and neither is it intended to reflect all the findings and recommendations of the Commission. It only contains the key findings and recommendations that the government wishes to highlight from the report and mirrors the findings and recommendations against the list of individuals identified in Volume 9 of the Commission's report. Some of the key findings of the Commission include the fact that former President Janneh, who was the primary subject of the Commission's inquiry and whose salary in July 1994 when he took over power was a mere $2,744. The Commission found that former President Janneh was engaged in an unconscionable land grab and acquired 281 landed properties throughout the country. These include private, residential, and commercial properties, islands, forest parks, wildlife reserves, and wetlands. The Commission also found that disproportionate amounts of resources were wasted, misappropriated, and diverted by former President Janneh, amounting to at least over $1 billion, to be precise, $1,065,000,000, 304,718,000 United States dollars, and 29 million euros, and over 29 million euros. The Commission found that the meager resources at the disposal of our country were managed at former President Janneh's whims and caprices, without regard to the structures and processes in place to ensure coherence and accountability. That former President Janneh, from his actions, reserved the right to appropriate funds from wherever they were available to him for procurement of goods and services, and made no distinctions as to whether the project was for his personal benefit or for public purposes. That at least $3,300,000, $1,858,000 United States dollars, and other amounts in pounds sterling, mostly in cash, were improperly authorized and directly transferred for use by Zainab Janneh from various accounts in the country. The Commission found that former President Janneh's financial dealings and or activities were at all stages facilitated, assisted, or even guided by a number of people. The Commission has identified 17 persons as close associates of former President Janneh based on the evidence before it. These include military officers who left with him into exile, private individuals and companies that had business dealings with him either directly or indirectly through companies in which former President Janneh had an interest. Apart from the persons who fall in the said category, the Commission also found that there were others who worked with former President Janneh by virtue of the offices they held, many of whom were also involved in his financial dealings and or activities. The Commission underscored that the damage former President Janneh has caused to government institutions, public resources, and state-owned enterprises is of such serious nature that the government ought to introduce a motion before the National Assembly for charges to be brought against him for theft, economic crimes, and corruption. Based on the recommendations of the Commission, the actions taken by the government are expected to generate at least $1 billion from the assets forfeited to the state and to be sold. However, it should also be emphasized that the Commission was not only established for the recovery of monies, even though it was equally important that there was a credible and transparent process of accountability which provided the government with the legal and evidentiary basis for our recovery efforts. The Commission was also meant to expose the level of corruption and the extent of reckless disregard for fiscal discipline and safeguards against abuses. Therefore, the Commission has made a number of policy recommendations in order to improve on these safeguards. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to inform the general public that a lien has been placed on the properties of the following persons until further notice: Mr. Amadou Samba, Mr. Tariq Musa, Mr. Fadi Mazegi, Mr. Ilya Raymond, Mr. Martin Keller, Mr. Nikolai Bezenu, Mr. Dragos Bezenu, Mr. Ali Yusuf Shawara, Miss Warren Njai Sise, Mr. Tony Ratas, Miss Fayal Diab Ghanem, Trust Bank Limited and Guarantee Trust Bank Limited, and M.A. Harafi and Sons. I thank you all for your attention. We will share copies of the white paper with you, and as the government spokesperson said, unfortunately we can only spare a few complimentary copies of the full report. It's voluminous. You can go to the GPPC and try to obtain it. I'll now cede the floor to the Honorable Minister of Information. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Secretary General, Office of the President, the Government Spokesperson, Director of Information, staff of the Ministry of Justice, colleagues in the media. We want to thank you for attending this important press briefing. As per the advice of the Attorney General, he would not like to take questions because of legal ramifications, because some of the issues that are mentioned in the report and the government white paper may be a subject of appeal in the superior courts, and he has advised that he would not like to take questions lest his comments may impact on any matter that this could be a subject of litigation. I think this is an important milestone for the government of the Gambia, having gone through an important process of investigation, and the actual report is now public. The white paper will be distributed to the press here, but the voluminous investigative work of the Commission, which is over 1,500 pages, will be handed over to the Gambia Press Union, 3 copies, and the GPU can now decide how it will be distributed to the rest of the media. Maybe you can help them with the photocopies, or those that are eager to get their own complimentary copy can just go and buy from the Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation. But this is one important step of strengthening our governance and democratic process, that citizens ought to know what is being done in their name. And now that the Commission has finished its work and then the government accepted the report and published the white paper, we want to thank the commissioners, those who collaborated with them in investigating this important piece of work, and also the Ministry of Justice for taking the important lead in ensuring that the work is published and also made public. We also want to take the opportunity to thank the President for the courage that he has taken to publicly make this report available to the members of the public through you, the media. And we also want to take this opportunity to thank the various media houses that participated in the investigation process, in terms of your time and energy and resources by, playing the different sessions on your different platforms. Some of them, were aired live. It took a lot of resources and energy and time. We want to thank you most profoundly for that. We are also very grateful to the Office of the Secretary General for the support that they have always been given to the Commission and to the Attorney General's Office, most so the Ministry of Finance as well, for making the resources available to the Commission. On behalf of the Honorable Minister, the Secretary General, and the Government Spokesperson, I want to thank you all. Thank you.
Yes. With your permission, if you give me permission, I would like to make a very short comment, just not on any question, but the issue of leaking the document that was leaked.
Okay.
With your permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you most welcome. It's a democracy.
So, and I'm making this on my own behalf as a journalist, but also as a member of the Gambia Press Union. You mentioned about the issue of the documents that were leaked. The Secretary General mentioned it as well. I just want to clarify so that there is no confusion that your concern from the government officials, civil servants leaking the documents. Perhaps that is out of, touch with what you want to do, and this is not what you want to do. And this, as a journalist, that is not my concern. My concern is to journalists. If there are documents like this and situations like this that are leaked to journalists, it is not a crime for journalists to publish it, and we celebrate this. That has to be clear so people don't vilify journalists for leaking this document. If we have them, we publish them. This is not just Gambia. This is what happens everywhere in the world. They don't wait for reports to be released. If we have leaked documents and they are not obtained through fraudulent means, we publish them. And on behalf of the Gambia Press Union, we celebrate this, and this is not a crime. And I'm saying this just for clarity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Sankar, yes, please, I have one comment to make. Okay.
And you are?
I'm Mr. Jaite. I'll introduce myself.
Okay.
My name is Mr. Mamadou Lamin Jaite. I'm a journalist and also representing Pan-African News Agency in the Gambia. Pan-African News Agency is a continental wire service publishing in English, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. Fine. I'm so disappointed that we came here, you invited all the journalists, only to say that no question. So what's the purpose of the press conference? Of course, we understand. We cannot comment on the whatever you may consider as legalities. But there are a lot of unanswered questions regarding governance, regarding the way things are being managed in this country. So I think it will be fair enough, now that we have all these mouthpiece of the government around, to answer those questions. Maybe we can understand, we can refrain from asking questions dealing with the Janneh Commission report. But I see no reason why the Minister of, with all due respect to him, Minister of Information is here, the government spokesperson is here. There are a lot of unanswered questions on topical issues of the day, and the government has to answer these things. So please, I would want us to accept some few questions here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, please.
Another issue about the report is informed by a legal position. I'm not saying that because you know that we are always available to the media when it comes to any governance issue. This government, we have nothing to hide. You know that I am the most accessible person in this country. You call me and I give you the answers. But this time, because it's a legal report that has been published, and it may be that the outcome of the work, a lot of people may agree or may not agree with it. So the Attorney General has opined that it may not be wise to give an opinion other than what he has said. That's what I was telling you. If you have governance issues, questions about governance, engage us, ask us, and then we will answer that. I only talk about the report, and I think we have to be fair to each other here. I did not say anything about any other topic other than this report, and I think we are all journalists. We all understand that if a matter that could be a subject of litigation, you want to, as much as possible, not to give an opinion on that. I think this is, Sirif, one of the most celebrated journalists, is here. And he's the president of the Gambia Press Union. You are, an elder journalist, Papsen is here. They all understand this. I have been a journalist myself. When a report is published, you don't give an opinion on that. If citizens that are adversely mentioned in that report want to take the matter to court, your comment as a public official can be used as a justification or otherwise. So everybody, this is the norm anywhere. And Sirif, you can agree with me, even in anywhere internationally, I have never seen anywhere where people publish a report and then they'll just go and make a comment on it. That's why the Attorney General's report, the statement, you can see that it is carefully crafted and it is based on issues that are only mentioned in the report, not opinion.
Everywhere else, recommendations too are implemented.
Yes, the recommendations are in the report.
On governance issues,
yes.
Attorney General, but to you, what assurance can you give to us and the Gambian public that recommendations based in this report will be implemented to the fullest without fear or favor?
When you say white paper, it means that action has already been taken. If you look at the recommendations, government has recommended that assets are forfeited for those that are adversely mentioned. For people like Janneh and the rest that actually have, issues to do with funds,
recommendations are also there that they are forfeited to the state. So when you say white paper means government has studied the dense report, and then it has taken this decision, and this decision is the position of the white paper. That is why I said, it is important you look at the white paper. All the recommendations are there that government has taken as a step, because white paper means we have studied the report, now we have published our actions. That is the white paper. So the issue of our recommendations not being implemented does not arise, because already this is the decision that we have taken.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just one moment.
I want to know whether we have
can we wait?
information in the report.
There is no classified thing in the report because it's already public. Anything in this report, you can go and publish it. This is the position of the Gambia government, and we are not only giving you.
In America with the Muller, Robert Muller.
Yes, it's published. It's public. No, for us, we are not. There is nothing hidden in the report now. We are not only giving you the report, but we are also giving you the position of the government, that we have accepted the recommendations of the commission, except otherwise as stated by the Attorney General.
Yeah, I want to be very clear, absolutely clear. Throughout my statements, I think I was very measured. I never talked about journalists. I specifically said civil servants. I am a journalist myself, a bona fide journalist for that matter. I spent over 3 decades writing and broadcasting, and I'm aware and conscious of the profession and how we celebrate, to use Sirif's word, leaks. What I'm trying to say is, if you work for the government and you are sworn to an oath of secrecy, you must be secretive. You must observe that oath of secrecy. People's confidence is at stake. The whole of yesterday, there were insults and abuses on Facebook. There are allegations that the journalist to whom the leaks were leaked to may have a sugar daddy at State House or a boyfriend at Justice. It's preposterous, quite frankly. And that's what I'm talking about. I have never suggested or insinuated that journalists should be censored. Never, ever. I know. Yes. Yes. If you want to go ahead with your question.
And also, as Jetta said, if you have any other question on governance, you can ask us. That as a government, we are free to engage you on that. You have what we said. Each of you will be given this report, the white paper, and then you can serialize it as you wish. Okay. Everything in the report is public, and the strong position of the government. If you are able to get the commission report itself, which is over 1,500 pages from the Gambia Press Union, if you want, you can also serialize it. Although most of what they have said in this report, we are already subject of public knowledge, because they sat in public, and they directly and copiously copied all the testimonies of the witnesses and the people who appeared before the commission. So our recommendation as a government and our position is what basically is in the white paper, because we have taken a position on that, and that is why we are giving to all the media houses a copy of that white paper. That is the position of the Gambia government. What we don't want to do is to make opinion on our recommendations, because if people who are not in agreement with the position that we have taken and want to take the matter to court, then you may be held liable for the comments that you have made or your opinions. So that is why we are saying this is our position as government. Take the report, serialize it to the public so that they can all read it. And the Janneh Commission report also will give that to the Gambia Press Union, so that you can all have. There is nothing hidden there. We are not hiding anything. What we want to avoid actually is the opinions on the report. The Attorney General is also ready to take any governance questions that you may have, or any other issue that you want to ask us as government. We are prepared to answer those questions.
He has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and for that clarification.
Yes.
Maybe I didn't get you right.
No, there is no problem. For us as government, it is important we engage the media. If you kind of misunderstood what we said, yes, it's our position that we come and clarify that, because the fact that we have called you here to share this report is ample testimony of our openness to the media. Yeah.
Okay, I have a few questions, but they are directly linked to some of the...
In all fairness to the...
Yeah, I'm not raising that. Now,
Yes.
I'm making this question on behalf of those skeptics and pessimists. All of us say Kunda Brikama and the like, because as a journalist moving around, I have discovered that the euphoria and the promise that came with the advent of the new regime way back in 2017, there was this rising expectation that we have a new Gambia, that things will not be as the same before, it will not be as business as usual. But 3 years down the line, if you talk to the common person and they are sincere to you, they open up to you, they will tell you that they are disappointed. That this is not the change they were looking for. That if you look at our governance system, our society, of course, a lot has changed. Nobody can deny that. A lot of people are freer. But yet, a lot remains to be changed. And some of these pessimists and skeptics are saying that if you look at the recent relationship between the police or this security and the citizens, a lot needs to be worked on. Because it seems the police are still living in the past.
I think, Jota, we need to be quick to ask the question because you are going round and round.
Okay, let me go directly.
Yes, please, go to the point.
A lot of people are of this view that if we continue with these trends, very soon Gambia will slide back to dictatorship, or we'll end up having what they call benevolent dictatorship. How do you react to that?
Well, you talk about the police public relationship. I mean, indeed, you know that we have an ongoing security sector reform. This is extremely important. Yes, we are all not happy with some of the things that are happening with all these allegations that are coming out there. But what I can tell you is that, you know, change is not a static thing. It's an ongoing process. And the fact that we have taken this bold initiative to start this process of security sector reform is really an ample testimony of government's commitment to ensure that, you know, we make serious inroads. The other issue of skeptics, I mean, democracy is all about skepticism. I mean, people will make noise. It's important when those noise are made, government listen and then, you know, act appropriately. I mean, you don't expect people in a democracy to sit and don't make noise. You don't expect people in a democracy to sit and don't make, you know, criticisms. You know, so this is, democracy goes with criticisms, democracy goes with noise, and then we really accept that. But the fact that, you know, we have 3 commissions of inquiry, I mean, 2 have already submitted a report, the Janneh Commission, and we have published that. The Faraba Commission, we have published it. We have the Constitutional Review Commission now. I mean, we are expecting the report hopefully in the early part of 2020 or before the end of this year in December. Hopefully they will finish the work. And then we are expecting the TRRC also to continue sitting and then, I mean, unravel some of the alleged human rights abuses that have, you know, that were committed in this country. So these are important milestones for any, I mean, country. But more importantly, today we have a very strong media that is not gagged. I mean, we have a very strong civil society that is vocal, that is engaging the populace, and their concerns are raised with vigor in the media. We also have a very strong, robust parliament that we all know is doing a very good job. And we have an executive that is actually engaging the people on their needs and concerns. So this is democracy at work, and we will continue to work with the relevant institutions in the government, especially the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Defense, and also the Attorney General's chambers to fast-track this issue of security sector reform.
Okay, the final question.
Let's give opportunity to another one.
Yes,
go ahead.
I have a question on
Yes, okay. My sister.
I want to refer my question to the justice.
Hold on 1 second, please. You know, here we maintain decorum. I have told you you're not supposed to stand here. Can you find a specific location and stay somewhere there, please? Yes, please. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you give him the mic?
Yes, Mr. Mane.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are blocking the cameras behind you. Okay, thank you.
So, Your Honorable Justice Minister, I wanted to know whether he is considering returning the diplomatic passports of his family, and also I want to know whether he has a second thought when he was applying diplomatic passport for the wife of the letter.
Okay, the Attorney General would like to answer that.
Well, I'm sure by now all of you know that I'm not one to shy away from responding to questions. I will respond to this question and on the diplomatic passport issue just this once, and that's it. I will not speak about it again. I sometimes joke that it's only when I travel outside the Gambia that I feel that I am a government minister, because of the way other places treat their ministers. It's a different story here in Gambia. But let me clarify the facts. And this was in June 2019, less than 3 months ago, that I inquired from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about those who may be entitled to diplomatic passports. And I see a lot of misconceptions about that as well. Diplomatic passports are not only meant for diplomats. That's a misconception that is out there. And that is why the Ministry of Foreign Affairs gave an advice, I think it's an interview in the Foreign newspaper, to categorize those who are entitled to it. In addition to specific categories of persons, it says, and the President has a discretion to give it to any person. So that's in addition to the group that is already identified, and that group includes diplomats and their dependents. And clearly it is contained in that same response, and which is the information that I was given as well, that cabinet ministers and their dependents, their wives, their kids, could be given diplomatic passports, in addition to the President's decision. Now, on the basis of that advice, I wrote to His Excellency the President to grant diplomatic passports to, these are the closest members of my family. I did not ask for it for my spouse and children. I asked for it for my spouse and mother. My sisters were just add-ons. I mean, I had responded to this issue earlier on in a private forum, but that was a personal response. This is now my official one. For my mother, it's not for a stranger to me, it's not for a friend, it's for my own mother. And if I can, by virtue of my office, request for a privilege that is totally lawful and legitimate, that I can request from my principal, who has the power and the discretion to grant that request, to facilitate my mother. We're not talking about strangers here or friends or distant family members. To facilitate the travel of my mother for a specific purpose. I went to lengths in the request to justify why I wanted it for her, and also to provide assistance to her. What's the point of my mother carrying a diplomatic passport in Saudi when she is moving in a wheelchair and there's no one to move with her? So because of those reasons, I submitted the request based on the advice that I received, and correct advice as well. The President approved it. I had nothing to hide. I didn't even label the letter confidential. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And it's unfortunate that in perhaps a desperation to look for something on me, people are using this opportunity to say all sorts of things against and about me. But it's public office. I know it's going to end someday soon. But I'll tell you this. Ever since I assumed office 2.5 years ago, I have never been so hot in my life. Because we're talking about my mother. And if I did nothing wrong, nothing against the law, nothing unethical, nothing immoral. And I am being, it hurts me. That's all I'll say.
You have a question? Yes, John, let's go ahead.
Well, I have a question for you, Honorable Minister, but I will just address it to this government spokesperson. You know, you are a political expert, political science expert. You know, you said that over the past weeks, you know, the government documents have been leaked by civil servants. Are you really believe that there are some civil servants who are acting as the fifth column of the political organization to undermine government? Another question with regard to climate change, because it is, you know, the countdown has started. Dorian has hit, you know, Florida and the whole area of and almost 3 small islands have disappeared. And we have seen in Gambia that government is so prompt to, you know, prosecute people who, you know, contravene with the Public Order Act. But when it comes to preserving the environment, you know, to preserving our ecosystem, they are doing nothing. How do you explain that?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. John. I am not a climatologist, nor am I a meteorologist. I'm not even trying to be an environmental guy. What I can suggest, though, is maybe to refer you to the people at the Ministry of Environment and to see what they have been doing about your concerns. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know the answers to your questions when I don't. But I know for a fact that 2 weeks ago, the Environment Ministry, in order to take the ministry to the people, decided to have a foundation stone laid somewhere close to Abuko by the nature reserve to bring to the people of that community and sensitize them on the values of preserving our environment. A week ago, several logs, containers of logs, were also intercepted at the Ports Authority. And then the Ministry of Justice and the police, I'm sure, are on top of that story. And all these go really to show the seriousness and commitment of the government towards our environment. And I'm sure there are other areas of intervention, like the cultivation and the planting of mangrove swamps across the swamps of the Gambia. The Environment Minister is a very active guy. He crisscrosses the country all the way to the hinterlands, trying to make sure that we rejuvenate the forest cover, the lost forest cover that is. If you look at what happened at Nyambai Forest, the entire forest has been depleted. And that wasn't done by the Barrow government. You know exactly what happened here 22 years ago. And to dwell onto that really is to waste the time of this press conference. The first question was about what again? Because it was a long question.
You know, some people are saying that, you know...
Oh, civil servant.
The civil servant acting like a fifth.
Or fifth column for a political party.
Yes.
Well, I never said that. I never talked about political parties. I only said civil servants are sworn to a code of conduct. I have never insinuated, nor did I suggest that a political party or political parties were in cahoots with civil servants. Those may be your own words. Unfortunately, that's not my thinking. Yes, sir.
My question is to the Justice Minister. Sir, we've seen that you have filed a nolle prosequi for 30 youths, and that we also know in May the Amnesty International came and met the president. One of their recommendations was for the anti-crime unit to desist from arbitrary arrest. We are now in September. We are filing nolle prosequi for 30 people who have been held in Mile 2 for 14 days. But yet still, there are 7 others who are still charged. What's the logic behind maintaining the charge on the 7? And most importantly, will there be steps taken to address the anti-crime unit, especially considering the recommendation from Amnesty International?
Well, thank you. I mean, there are parts of that question which are mine and parts which are not. What the anti-crime unit does is the responsibility of the police and the Interior Ministry. However, as the government, as the Honorable Minister of Information said, there is a security sector reform ongoing. We do not expect old habits to die quickly. It takes some time. But I think one thing you will all accept as well is that there have been improvements in the way that the police are dealing with ordinary Gambians compared to the past. We can't deny that. Now, there will be occasional excesses. There is no doubt about that. I will be hard-pressed to point out any country in this world, including the most advanced democracies, where there are no police excesses occasionally. So the challenge for us really is to try to prevent it from happening, and that when it happens occasionally, we address them. And I think that was the spirit in which Amnesty International submitted their report. And allow me to say as well that I had engaged Amnesty International on that report, and we came to a mutual understanding that the report was not meant to be conveyed in the way that it came out. So they admitted to some extent that the report could have been better conveyed. It was written communications between us because we conducted our investigations following that report, and we were able to establish that actually not everything in that report was 100% accurate. And so instead of coming out with a statement to counter amnesty in public, because of our collaborative work, we reached out to them and pointed those out to them, and they admitted that as well. So just to share that with you, that not everything you read from some international organizations is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They are as fallible as we are in government. There's no doubt about that. In terms of why I discontinued the prosecution of 30 and retained 7, well, we have to understand how our criminal justice process works in this country. The police have a duty, they have an obligation to fight crime. That means preventing it or investigating it after it occurs. In the course of their investigations, if they have reason to believe that a particular suspect has been involved in a crime, then they will conduct their arrest based on preliminary investigations, and then because of the 72-hour requirement, they would take them to court. I think we all know that we are trying very hard to make sure that everyone who is arrested in this country is brought before a court within the 72 hours. I think that is credit as well to this new government, unlike the past. Now, the reason why we do that is because the police cannot complete their investigations within a 72-hour period. And if the person is a flight risk, then the police will take them before a court of law and request for them to be remanded in custody while they continue their investigations. At the conclusion of those investigations, the case file is sent here to the ministry for our review and advice as to whether there is sufficient evidence to proceed with the case in court. Now, while in this particular occasion, because of the public interest in the matter and the number of youths who were arrested, it was out of collective concern that I didn't even wait for the police to conduct their investigations completely or send the file here. I reached out to the police and I said, the number is too high, 37. We have to keep remembering something. This country is still not as stable or as perhaps entrenched in democracy as we all feel these days. It's still a fragile transition. It's only been 2.5 years. And that is why a lot of our international partners are commending us every day for the progress that we're making in ensuring stability. That is why the UN Secretary General has included Gambia in his sustaining peace agenda. So let's not assume that everything is rosy and dandy here. It's not. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Transitions take time, especially political transitions. So I thought in the interest of public stability, I requested the police to review the evidence that they have, which led them to arrest the 37, and to narrow down on those who are directly responsible for the arson for the burning down of Gorgui Mbub's house and also the burning down of a police vehicle. I asked them to zero in on those, and they came back with the report that, okay, they think these 7, on the basis of the evidence that they have as at that time, this was last week before we traveled to Qatar, that these 7 are the ones that they have identified. So I took the decision to discontinue proceedings against the other 30. Of course, the charges included rioting, unlawful assembly, but like I said, it would not be in the public interest to prosecute 30 youths at that time. But those who are remanded in custody, we actually didn't oppose bail when their lawyers applied for bail. We had to revise and amend the charges because what they were charged with, arson, is not bailable. So we had to revise the charges to bring it to a lesser serious offense so that they can be granted bail while the police continue their investigations. We can't also allow people to burn down people's houses and properties and then walk away. That's not right. That's not how a country is governed. Otherwise, we will all be victims, each of us. And that is why we are taking a very strong position on the arson offense. But for the time being, I want the police to focus on those who are directly responsible. I've asked them to review the case of the 7 as well going forward, and hopefully I will hear back from the police. It may or may not go down further, I don't know, but this is what the police have given to us. Like I said, we have not yet even received the file officially from the police, but to show the proactive nature of the government as a whole, because let's not forget that the Justice Ministry is an integral part of government government machinery. So is the police. There are different parts, and we all do our parts. We all complement one another, and there are checks and balances, and that's how systems work. So if the police do not get it right all the time, we try to provide them with assistance that can fill in the gaps. If we don't get it right, the judiciary is here to provide an additional check. This is how systems work. So that's all I can say about that.
Just to follow up, will it be fair to say that the public is concerned that the focus is on the burning of properties and not so much on the killers of Keba Seka and the murder of alleged torture of Usman Dabo? Is that the focus of the government, or is that something your ministry can help to reorientate? Because life, we believe, should come before property, and whether your ministry and the rest of the government, they believe in this.
Let us be fair to this government. The police did a brilliant job following the murder of Keba Seka. Let us admit they arrested the culprit, who was a police officer, and that culprit is in detention. Now, you can't say that the police have prioritized the burning over that incident, because the culprit, the alleged suspect in the murder of Keba Seka, a police officer for that matter, is in custody, and the police acted very swiftly. Now, in terms of the alleged torture of Usman Dabo, I think the recent report, the autopsy report was released, and I am not very sure because I was away when that happened, but I think the government has shared that report with the public to establish the cause of death. And so this is why fake news is dangerous, because when fake, no, it's true. Just last December, I think I was chatting with Honorable Minister, BBC had a documentary, Beyond Fake News. I'm not sure how many of you saw it. The dangers that it causes in society, and in the particular case of Dabo, the rumors unfortunately did not help, and some people, reacted spontaneously on the basis of those unfounded rumors and caused further damage and destruction in this country. So these are all challenges in an emerging democracy. As I said, we will try to prevent where we fail. We will try to remedy when there are excesses, but we can't say that the police prioritize the burning of Gorgui Mbub's house over the investigations into the deaths of Keba Seka or Dabo. Thank you.
I think I just want one final question. Well, then he has to come because he never. You are the final, yes, and then the minister will make a statement.
Honorable Minister, yes. I'm sorry. Honorable Minister, with all due respect, I know how you felt when your mother is mentioned on this issue. Giving to the pride of your mother. But I said, Minister of Justice give legal advice to the government. Would you now consider giving preference to other people who are not ministers and their mothers are in that situation, for government to give them a diplomatic passport?
You know, right from the start, I said, I joke that this is the only, when I travel outside this country, that's when I feel that I'm a minister. Now, you can't put ministers in the same box as everybody else. Every morning, you wake up, every morning, you wake up, you go about your personal business, right? You go about your personal business, your livelihood, your work. Every morning, ministers wake up and public servants, they go about the public's business. They leave aside their personal issues. They do work for you, for the public. And that is why they are recognized in some of the non-monetary privileges that ministers are given. That is why you're treated as a VIP when you go to certain places. Not everyone is given, because we carry the public burden. And so if the law allows for a minister to access certain privileges and their families, well, complain to the law. Don't complain to me. I am not the maker of the law. I am not the enforcer. Sorry, I'm only the enforcer. And so to ask that if the same could be extended to others, well, maybe every other citizen should be given a car, should be given an orderly, you know, treated the same way as every minister. And then maybe ministers should not be blamed when they leave public work and go and start to run after their own personal issues, just like you do, just like all private citizens do. That's the difference. That's the difference.
My colleague question is whether now you will consider...
Oh, I will return these passports, not because they were acquired unlawfully or wrongly. It's because I don't need the distraction. I don't need the distraction. My family doesn't need the distraction. And it has served its purpose. And just to reiterate the point, a week and a half after they came back from Hajj, they submitted their request for US visas. Go and find out from the American embassy whether they use the diplomatic passports. They use their ordinary passports. Just to underscore the point that really, I mean, it's much ado about nothing. Cabinet ministers, in fact, anyone who serves in public office demands some latitude, some respect for the office, not the persons. You can hate the person, that's okay, but it's the office that you have to look at. And we can't all be treated the same way. I mean, I'm not a communist. I don't pretend to be one. I don't want to be one. I'm a capitalist, born and bred.
Thank you very much. Okay, that actually brings us to the close of this press conference. The Minister of Information is just going to make a brief statement, and then thereafter we can distribute the report, the white paper to everybody, and then we hand over.
Sir, maybe you'll come here so that the Attorney General will give you the complimentary copies. The 3 voluminous reports, I mean, the Secretary General will do that. But also just to emphasize once again that there is nothing hidden about what we have done here. The report is public. Please serialize it in your newspapers, or you can serialize it in your media houses, radio, TV. I mean, it's public document. We have taken a position as government, and that is why the white paper is published. The report is also here. GPU will distribute this to its members. So that's it. Thank you so much. The Honorable Secretary General would like to hand over the report and the white paper to the Secretary General of the Gambia Press Union for onward distribution. Yeah, the President of the GPU. So you can see that is this is one report. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books. It's volumes. Yeah. So that's one copy of the report. So you can see how big it is. So that's one. And then we have 3 of these scripts that you will have at the Gambia Press Union, and maybe you can help facilitate the photocopy, or those that are eager to get the Janneh report itself, you can have it. But for our position as government white paper, we have made enough copies for all of you so that you can get it. And then this is, I don't know the price, but it's over 1,600 pages of the Janneh report. Yeah, you can find that out from the printing department. But we are giving you.
This is for the journalists who are here today.
No, this is for the GPU. No, this is one volume. Okay, this is one report. 9 volumes.
The paper is here. You'll get that later.
Now you want to sell it and you want to give us the responsibility of photocopy, spending money.
Well, we'll give you 3 complimentary copies of the report, so you can take that.
I think to be fair, government is giving a complimentary copy.
Yes.
As you can see, you know, I mean, even the cost of production
It's high.
Yeah, that is why it's giving to the
This is the white paper?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not just the journalists, for any person in public who wants to have a copy, you go like all other documents.
Yes.
You have a copy, you go to
Yes.
you have a copy.
What was the government's e-governance?
Yeah.
Right? And then
You don't want to
please, no, I think like the other speakers have said,
yes.
We cannot change a lot of things that happened in 2 decades, you know, in 1 year. All right, but let's accept that we are moving on the right direction.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of these things that are happening today has never happened.
Exactly.
All right. It has never happened in many countries. We have studied some countries, but in many countries, even this doesn't.
Yeah.
All right. And let me also say that because I think some of the comments is 9 volumes, and one of the volumes is actually policy recommendations for government. All right, that shows that, you know, we are ready to make changes. You cannot just make changes, as I said, you know, in a day.
Yeah.
But government has to put systems in place so that in the near future the whole public would have confidence that everything is going right. So on behalf of the Excellency President, we now hand over this copy to the GP as a complimentary copy.
So this other one, as you can see, is the white paper. We are going to give 3 to the GPU also, but we'll give each of you a copy. This is the position of the government, this white paper, and it entails everything that we as government has taken in recognition of the good work that the Commission did. So it is our position, and it is also public. You can serialize this, as well as the report, produced by the commissioners. Honorable Secretary General, can I have 2 copies for the GPU? 2 other copies for the GPU? Yes. Okay. Two. No, for the white paper. White paper, yes. Okay. Sirif, these are 3 copies for the GPU again, but each of you will give you a white paper, yeah? Yeah. So how many are you here?
What about the electronic version?
No, we are giving the document to the media houses, not individuals, please, because we want to also give this thing to cabinet ministers also. You'll be surprised, even cabinet ministers, we don't have a copy. You are the first to get this copy, so it shows how open we are. I look forward to getting my own to Honorable Attorney General. Department of Information will get that one is our. Okay. So media houses, please, let's with the Attorney General's chambers here right now. 1 for media copy, please. 1 copy for the media house. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. All right.
Apa kena ikan saya suka? Na bro da mimba yuro, Mr. Conte. Ika boleh kolkan saya na suka na mano banta jabo banta tuloban. Saya ka boleh kolkan anda ka ba official kana badama belum mutarin baka ta sintilano. Iko mbatunga ne ta ya kuriyan mako da banta na ta mano sani tulo ne. Mulla, betul na bro da man balwo service kalam. Mun service, balwo service. Ni da kuranta mo kalam. Mulla, afela bro da ko. Abitala internet all. Ayata site level do. balwo.com. Na wasaje aku nga ba download la telephone lo na da sandiro ko ni wal na da sirin hala office ko ndama manjar pura ta bank ko kodoki ada sirin office ko da minto ido message ko telephone ko no e biti ko be Gambia dawda biti ko babelo ko ta kano dawda yata se ko tawo woda ma yana bari wa service na kamul da na tanyo le kan fiya na bro da ka ko tanyo lo ayo ka ko da
balwo service dinkirala jampo o manken na kola ko balwo service al demano kaje ko ale dumur fewol sang alla dimba moli ana lakanun to wato bela ani wadu sudum panon kono balwo service la dinkiralu ani la doku nyul e banko karo beto kabirin katon fo koyna nalla fa ko ko taw so balwo service la kolto ali komandi telephone la ni la melbuko 9400213 7694319 wala 3192870 wala hankabi alta internet oto alila kulu jibe www.baluwo.com.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EG Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Bushibi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you'll enjoy deep tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and a breathtaking experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website at ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.